Hello. In this clip from our Justia webinar, Converting Leads to Clients and Navigating the Critical Moments of Legal Consultation, Adam Boyd talks about getting visitors to a lawyer's website and the importance of generating leads and conversions to ensure the growth of a law firm. Remember, if you'd like to see more Justia videos on law practice and legal marketing, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Thank you, Nina. And I want to thank everyone at Justia for having me. I am going to do my best to not make you look bad. Okay, so let me go to slideshow. And I know that some of you will be watching this long after this webinar goes live. But for those of you who are, happy to answer questions. So it says a lot that you would invest time in yourself and your firm today to go through this webinar and to learn more about growing your firm. At the end of today's session, we will have Q&A, so save your questions for then. But as I will probably be talked out from an hour of talking, keep them easy. This is really about the consult. Some of you may have questions on intake. Some of this will touch on that, but save some of the intake questions specifically for the Q&A. The goal is to help you with this win more of the right clients. In fact, we're talking about, wait for it, sales, even if that's a four-letter word for you as an attorney, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to cover best practices that align with how potential clients feel and think. And I'm going to tell you that feelings do matter in the consult. We want to give you consults that save you time, even when it feels like they take more time, and that enable you to get decisions more efficiently and effectively from potential clients. We also want to make discussing money and fees a little more easy and natural. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about why the consult is so important after the marketing effort that you've spent a lot of time and money on. But where we're going to go is from there, we're going to look at common mistakes I see in consults, a framework and structure that you can use for your consult, and then some basic best practices around communication that probably aren't taught in law school. Okay. Okay. Now, a lot of what we're covering is going to be based on research, behavioral economics, neuro-linguistic programming, if you're familiar with that, and some psychology. All of the books you see here are things that I've read that have influenced my work with clients, and they're readily available to all of you. But let's talk about what this isn't. What we're going to do here today is not jump into an attempt to win all clients at all costs. This is not about making money over serving clients the right way. It's not about doing whatever it takes. It's not about taking on any and all clients. It's not about making guarantees. It's not about pulling bait and switches. It's nothing sleazy or pushy. I don't want to do any of that. I know you don't. I will challenge your assumptions on how you think about working with clients in the consult phase. Now, you probably want to know a little more about me than that. I somehow got through college and that a business school let me in. If you look me up, you'll find out I am not an attorney. I did, however, take some practice LSAT in my 20s. And when I got in the logic games, I realized Harvard Law was not in my future. So I chose business school instead and did fairly well on the GMAT. Let that tell you what it is. I've been a management consultant for 17 years with a focus on business development, customer acquisition, and sales. Over the last couple of years, I've really been working on helping law firms grow. I focus on how they win business, specifically in the consult and sometimes in intake. My background does include an MBA where I had to sell cookbooks door to door. And since then, I've cold called on CEOs. I've run the networking circuit. I've spent my own money in marketing, run thousands of sales calls in various industries, and worked in multiple industries. So the material we're covering today, I really learned as a consultant to businesses in the first 10 years of my career and have been honing ever since. But during that time of my career, working with companies, here's some of the things that we saw. And I'm going to tell you, none of it was rocket science. One company went from 6 to 100 million in annual revenue. Another one in the world of finance was putting out $20 million in funds, and they quadrupled that. A professional services business was able to quadruple their pricing. Several companies had profitable exits. I've trained over 1,500 people and worked with hundreds of executives in 80 companies. So I tell you that, you know that this stuff has been battle tested. Um, and one of the things that I've learned along the way is that the people who win clients or win the business aren't always the best ones to do it. They're just the one who does the best job selling. And I know for many of you, you take a lot of pride in the quality of work you do. You take pride in your prep. You take pride in your education. You take pride in the way you service. This is a skill set that's going to be really important to winning the right clients so that they can get that opportunity to work with you. The hope is that today you get actionable material that will have a positive impact on your business, your career, your firm. So let's talk about why the consult itself matters. 57% of potential clients are getting to attorneys today via an online search, meaning they didn't come to you via word of mouth or referral, meaning somebody didn't walk them in and say, you need to hire this person. They saw something that caused them to pick up the phone or book online. That's great. Maybe it's where you are in the local service ads. Maybe it's the fact that you sponsored something. But when they get to you, they need to see it for themselves. What's more, depending on what data you look at, there are over 1.3 million attorneys in the United States, meaning it's incredibly competitive out there. There are a lot of attorneys, and they're a lot more than likely in your practice area in the market you serve. So growing your firm isn't just about leads, though you need leads to have a firm, and I recommend you connect with Justia on what they can do for you. You're being told to spend a lot of money on marketing, somewhere between 2 and 20% of your revenue, depending on what resource you're talking to. And everywhere I look, somebody is trying to sell you on this. I'm on LinkedIn and I see all the people in the world of marketing going to law firms and trying to generate leads, do marketing for you. They want you to spend more, and the people who promote that are really good at it. And it might be that they want to do it through ads. It could be billboards. It could be television, radio. I don't know if anybody spends money on TV anymore. In my market, they do. It could be SEO, pay-per-click, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook with their targeting mechanisms. But we need to think about 2 to 20%. What does that mean? And I want to couch this in very real numbers. You know, if you're a $500,000 firm, it's anywhere between, if we go to the 18% range, $10,000 and $90,000 on marketing. If you're $1 million firm, it's $20,000 to $180,000. And those are broad ranges, but we start talking about some real money here. If you're a $3 million firm, it's $60,000 to $540,000. And if you're a $7.5 million firm, you might be spending $1.35 million on marketing. Okay, so what's that worth? If you're a $500,000 firm, maybe it's a much needed vacation. Maybe it's a better paralegal, or it's the ability to pay off some loans and get some breathing room. Let's say you're that $1 million firm. Maybe it's a better vacation, right? Maybe you stay for more than 3 days. Maybe you do some work on your yard because you've taken some profits out of the firm. Maybe it's a new attorney who's actually really good at what they do, right? Because I've worked with firms where they hire somebody and they realize that person doesn't work very well. Maybe it's another paralegal and multiple attorneys if you're a bigger firm. Maybe you're a much larger firm and you're saying, you know what? I want to start to diversify what we've got, and I'd like to buy the building we're in and start collecting checks on that rather than just billable time. So when people talk to you about your firm, very often what they talk about is one thing. And this triangle we're going to come back to a few times, and I'll explain what it means. They'll talk to you about T, which is traffic or leads. And that's really good. You need leads. If you don't have them, you can't run the consult. And if you aren't getting many consults, you just take whatever you can get, even if it's not a good fit client. So you have to have them. And you can get them many ways. Search engine optimization, pay-per-click or search engine marketing, referrals, leads companies, as I mentioned, radio, TV, billboards. Amazingly, TikTok has become a source of leads for some attorneys. Facebook, I see a lot of people investing in copywriters on LinkedIn, and you need the traffic. But if we come back to the triangle, we need to see that T is for traffic, But C is for conversion or closing. And that's where we take the traffic and we actually turn it into a client. E, which we don't have time for today, is about economics, what you pay for that traffic. It's here's how much it cost us to acquire a new client. Here's what we charged, and here's what it cost us to serve them. And after the serving and the cost to acquire them, you should have some money left over. We don't have time for that today to talk about that, but it's something to think about, and there are experts in pricing out there. I believe that leads don't matter if you're not converting them. The marketing focus of your firm is going to say, hey, we got to get leads. And that's great, but it means more if you don't get enough. Sorry, I'm going up. Hit the wrong button. Traffic is only part of your triangle. Okay. More traffic means more consults, which in your world are actually more expensive than the money. And not just your cash, it's your time. And if you're spending a lot of time in consults because you're driving more leads, because you're not converting enough, you're not with clients enough, you're not educating yourself enough, you're not breathing, you're not getting rest, you're not developing other people in your firm. So we need to think traffic's good, but we've got to convert. So I like to think about this as a math problem. And I want to use this as an example. Let's put in a $1 million firm and your average case size is $5,000. You're doing 200 cases a year. And let's say you're spending $50,000 a year to drive leads. You're converting 1 in 5, depending on your practice area, how long you've been around, these numbers vary. And let's say you're getting 1,000 leads a year. Well, if you can convert a little bit better, right? Your spend stays the same, the leads stay the same, the client value stays the same. But if we can convert instead of 20% to 30%, which isn't a massive difference, we win 100 new clients. And if we keep the case size the same, it's an additional $500,000 a year in revenue. Now, you probably, as you bump up, unless you've got a lot of capacity, you're probably going to have to hire some people to help you. So your fixed costs may go up, but look what it does to your pre-tax profit, because you do need to run a firm. And the more money you make, the more you can invest in the firm, the better you can serve clients, and the better your quality of life. Now, if we get good at converting, one of the things we can do is you can raise prices. And I'm going to tell a story about that in a minute. Look what happens here. You don't need to create any more spend, and you don't have to increase your fixed costs. It just all falls to the bottom line incrementally after taxes. So what could you potentially be doing with that incremental money on a case-by-case or client basis, right? If you can bump prices by 10 or 15% while you're converting more, you've got more to invest in firm and the growth of it, which creates a healthier firm, a more enduring firm, better experience for clients, better work, better attorneys, better staff. So today we're not focusing on traffic. We're going to focus on the conversion. Okay. That's all I'm going to be talking about, the intake and the consult, mostly the consult. Save your intake questions for later. Okay. Now, a little background to frame what we're doing here today. I began using this material with a BCG trained consultant, an outsourced CFO bookkeeping firm. One used it to increase pricing. One of them used it to start converting a lot more business. He actually called me, don't get upset with me on this, to say, hey, I'm selling too many I'm selling too many clients now. And sometimes they're not the ones I want. So we had to work with him a little bit on his criteria there. But these are smart, honest professionals who realized that the conversion portion of their business needed work. One of those clients referred me to the owner of what I would call kind of like a mid-small law firm a couple years ago. And I got on the phone with the owner of this firm, and he said, hey, if I can increase my close rate by 10%, I can double my cash flow. He'd been working hard to keep all his people employed through COVID. He hadn't let anybody go, even to his own cost. He was spending his money to keep everybody running. And then they started to come out of it in COVID, but they needed to fix some things. Before we'd ever met, he'd done the following. He dialed in his marketing. He's a really, really sharp guy. He'd spent years improving it, working on his own. He knew how to capture information, how to follow up. He tracked all the key metrics, from volume to call response rates to meetings booked to closed. We can tell you right now which of his intake personnel have the highest show rate for meetings. We can tell you which of the intake personnel have the best downstream close rate. They actually have an impact on whether or not those people, when they meet with attorneys, close. He had crafted scripts for his team to use, worked on them, tried training the team himself, but he knew it still needed work to move the needle on close rate. So I'd worked with a lot of service providers before, but not law firms. Going to be straight with you folks. Told him I'd give it a shot. I reviewed consults from his attorney across several practice areas: bankruptcy, family law, state law, probate, criminal, employment law, and I identified a handful of things that if we simply stopped doing would have a significant impact. I'm going to tell you, it was uncomfortable for them. They didn't like working with a non-attorney at first, and they were skeptical. They prided themselves on their intellect, their understanding of the law, and it took weeks for me to win their trust. But we did. And the process and the principles we covered today, that's what they worked on. They began trying to implement what we were doing. In over 5 months, they were able to raise pricing from $4,000 per case to $4,500, and their conversion rate went from 18% to 31%. Billings went from $210 a month to $350 a month. They weren't in a bad spot, but they really started to take off. It was all in how they ran consults. We didn't change marketing. We didn't change any of that, just how they ran consults. They could have maybe gotten a similar result by spending more on marketing, but it would have taken twice as much time and money. So they used this framework and methodology to boost these win rates. In September of 22, they opened 88 new cases, and you can see what happened in September of 23. It was 181. No increased lead flow. They also boosted their view ratings online, which drove more traffic, and their NPS scores. So we're really proud of them. It was an honor to work with them, and they do a great job. The material works. As that client had success, they referred me to other firms, and we saw others have success. And I'm excited to share some of that with you today. So let's talk about what we have to stop doing. Let's really dig in. Attorneys want to help clients. Most of the ones I talk to and work with, they really want to help. They're hardworking. They're really good at doing the work. They're not always sure how to convey that to a potential client other than saying, we've done a lot of cases like this, or we're really good at this. They've been taught to practice the law and to persuade with logic. But understanding ethical persuasion, especially in a client acquisition, client development context, is typically new to them and uncomfortable. They want to solve problems and quickly, not sit in what they feel like could be a therapy session for the client. They don't want to deal with a ton of emotion. They want to educate on the law. But typically, it doesn't connect with that potential client. So clients will even say things like, think about it. We'll get back to you. And the attorney says, this is what they hear. Can I call you back? You did a great job. And both sides miss out because the attorney thinks they weren't a good lead. They were a bad lead. And what I want to do is help you fix that. All right. So let's talk about some of the mistakes attorneys make in intake and consult. Charlie Munger, who recently passed, was Warren Buffett's business partner. And he said, the answer to a lot of problems is to invert, meaning we need to find out what leads to the wrong answer and just eliminate that.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos on law practice and legal marketing. See you in our next clip.